That sounded remarkable to me. I didn't realize that. One thing I want to thank you, Ken, and the West Coast Hall of Fame. I was very pleased and surprised when I got a phone call due to the fact that especially old-time car owners, builders, were very seldom recognized. They're sort of forgotten down the road. So I am very honored to be here tonight. There is a correction in your program, though. There was 2 mistakes there. Don't know how that happened. I think Howard Keating over here out of Northern California, myself out of Southern California at the time, probably the 2 oldest people here. I'm pushing 84. And you gotta realize when you're that old, you get a little fuzzy, a little senile, well, not senile, I don't know, but that's a problem with a lot of people who are gonna have to look forward to as they come along. Second thing, I am not retired. The boss keeps me working. We happen to be in the timber business in northern Idaho, and have been. When Herschel McGriff got out, he was smart. He got out of the timber business when he was very young. I got in it when I was very old. And we are not the problem for your $100 sheet of plywood. I raised the fee, and they're not paying me any more for it. Can't blame that on me. That's 300% increases, not my doing. So, anyhow, I was very fortunate. I was raised in Southern California, basically the Culver City, West Los Angeles area. I fell in love with racing probably when I was 9 or 10 years old. I got a paper route, evening paper route with Herald Examiner. With that, I had a Schwinn bicycle, and packing those papers, it got to be a lot of work. And at that point, was able to purchase a Wizard motor and put on it, and that made things a lot faster. Back in those days, well, I say I was very fortunate. In that area, we had Vic Edelbrock's shop. I had Hildebrand, or Hilborn Engineering was right there. Blonde Muffler was in Culver City. Who else? Clay Smith was there. Evans was there. Anyhow, back in those days, you have to realize, and we're talking right after the Second World War, buildings aren't air conditioned. So especially in the summer months, the late spring, the doors are wide open, and people were a lot easier going back in those days. I could go into Edelbrock's, park the Wizard, walk into the shop with a newspaper, and Murray Jensen would be there, sit there and talk with you. Bobby Meeks would, even Vic would come out. They had 2 real neat midgets sitting there. And so, like I say, they'd answer questions for you. You could come in and ask them this, or what are you doing today, and they'd explain it to you. Today, that doesn't happen. Everything is very secretive when it comes to, especially racing, and even in the automotive world. So, I've got a good upbringing, I thought, as far as the automotive world. That's how I fell in love with it. From there, we went, as I got older, went drag racing. I raced motorcycles for a while. Then got into, after the midgets, the midget races, I think J.C. Akajanian gave me the first job as a promoter. J.C. at one point was a promoter at both Carroll Speedway, Culver City Speedway, and as a 12-year-old or 13-year-old at the time, I kept the scoreboard, which is nothing but a Foster and Kaiser, let's say, billboard, and you got 2 kids up there on the flank. One's keeping track of the first 4 cars, just sliding cars down into a slot, and the other one keeping the track of the laps. And I did that all summer long, besides delivering my newspapers. We'd be able to go from one racetrack to another with either the Yellow Block crew or with another young fellow that he happened to die at Gilmore one night, and he had to carry me around. So I loved racing all the time, and by the early 70s, I think it was, or mid 70s, we decided to take on NASCAR. And we were going to do it right here on the West Coast, but Humpy Wheeler had just taken over the management of Charlotte Motor Speedway. And he asked me, he says, called me on the phone, says, you know Roger Ward? And I said, I know Roger. And he says, you have 2 cars? And I said, yes, we have 2 cars. How about bringing Roger Ward to Charlotte for their race? He had A.J. coming, he had I'm trying to think of the lady's name he had raced. I can't think of her right now. But he had about 4 or 5 Indy stars and wanted Roger Ward. At that point, I thought about it. We talked about it. Talked to Roger about it. He was all for it. And Roger was getting up in age those times, but we decided to go back there. I got a good education once I went down south. Parky Dahl had already gone there from the West Coast, called Parky. I said, what kind of gears do I need for, let's say, Charlotte? What kind of springs do I need? Parky says, I'm an engine guy, Howard, you know that. He says, call Hudson Pagan and talk to Eddie Pagan. I called Eddie Pagan. Eddie Pagan, I asked him, what springs do I need for Charlotte? And what gear ratio? I forget what gear ratio, he told me probably a 3 1/4, something like that. He says, the front springs, we just take a 9-inch spring out of a station wagon, cut 2 rungs off it. That's the trick of the week. And I thought to myself then, I said, you know, those Southerners, they don't have much going for them. We have spring raiders on the West Coast. I know a 200-pound spring from a 1,000-pound spring. Got back to Charlotte and found out that they do a lot of double talking back down south. We had a heck of a time with it. And back in those days, Edelbrock was run or managed by Jim McFarland. Jim McFarland was a good friend of Smokey Unix. And after a little complaining what happened to Jim and Smokey, they told me that, you know, to be successful in the NASCAR community down here now, you have to learn how to decipher the rule book. The rule book in the mid-70s was probably 150 pages. It fit in the back pocket of your Levi's. And they said, and that covered 4 divisions, the Grand National Division and one other divisions they had. And like Smokey said, he says, it says you don't do it, don't do it. But if it doesn't say anything about it, do it. That caused a lot of problems with Gasaway, Dick Beatty, you had that, and even Ken Piper on the West Coast. You had that rule book, it doesn't say I can't do it. It doesn't say I can't do it. Bill France overrode you half the time, but I got a super good education, I can tell you that right now. From there we went USAC racing, and anyhow, that's one of probably 2,000 or 84 years worth of stories I can probably tell you. And if I had to do it again, I'd do it all over again.